Hey guys, Nothing Bullshit here today, and welcome back to the channel. And today we got a video on a Sunbreak wish list. So in the Discord, I put out a question to people there. Links down below if you want to join. About what would they like to see for Sunbreak, and I have a lot of responses, a lot of suggestions, some changes, some just things that people just want to see. So yeah, we're gonna go through these, and might be a bit of a long video. Who knows? I don't know yet, but enjoy. So firstly, we got new monsters and variants. So I'm going to start off with the new monster types. So it's more like, since we're going to some European theme type of area, and the new Elder Dragon seems to be a vampire type monster, I've been really thinking about these European folklore monster types. And a lot of people in Discord have said similar. So like things like vampires or gothic theme monsters, snakes, phoenixes, centaurs, minotaurs, stuff like that. Like that would be really cool to get those type of European, like olden Greek type of methodology, even Scandinavian, with things like sheep and goats and just crazy things we can see. Like that would be fantastic to have along in this coming up expansion. But along with that, new monsters in general, so more brutes, more insects in Rise. No, not just in Rise, monster in general. We lack in insect monsters. I think we have about 4 or 5. So if you can get some of those back, if you can see Outer Car, which I doubt, but if you can see that come back, that'd be great. Or Sotos and Sotos Queen, that'd be fantastic. But that's new types, man. Even snakes, like we got one snake ribbon. If you can get more of that, that'd be great to see. Just more types, man. Just more types. Alright, next we got returning monsters. So I've got a long list of returning monsters here. With, you know, big fan favorites that we were all hoping that would be in Rise and even World and Iceborne. Like Lugiacris, which is super popular. I would love Lugiacris. He's one of my top 3, along with Valstrax and Magnamalo. But I don't know if he'll. I mean, he could come. Leviathan's are back, so it'll be really great. But it's not on the water combat. But he was in GU, so that'd be cool. Navigante, fan favorite from World. That would be cool to see him come back. We don't always get the flagships coming back. Like we don't have Shiridios. We've only had him in 4U and in Gen U. But he hasn't been in World, and he wasn't base Rise, so we don't know. I mean, it could happen. Giganox, a really popular one from 3rd gen, that would be great to see back. More poison monsters. Lao Shang Long, all the way from the 2nd gen, I think, also was in GU. I'm not sure if he's coming back. I mean, I don't know if they're bringing back sieges. I think rampages are the type of sieges this game's going to have, and I think it's a better option as long as they make them harder, but we'll get into that later. Amatsu, fantastic Elder Dragon. We need to see that. More water Elder Dragons. Come on. Devil Joe's a staple. Of course, Devil Joe, man. We need to see him back. Like, he's been in every game since Try. So, bring the boy back, man. One of my favorites. Gormagala. Big fan favorite monster. From 4, it would be really cool to see him back. We have Gore, we have Chaotic Gormagala, and then we have Shogu Gormagala. Seeing all 3, or at least 1, would be fantastic. But I guess if you bring 1, you gotta bring the rest, right? We got Tetsukabra. Well, a couple here. Tetsucarpot, Zamtuos. You know, those 2 were monsters that everyone thought would be in the game. Mostly because you see the little baby Tetsucabra, but he's not in the game. And then for Zamtuos, you see Zamite, but also not in the game. And since we already have the frog model in the game with Chechenadon, like, bringing these 2 monsters would be fantastic. Like, come on, let's do that. I've already said Chirodios. I got, oh, okay. Got Gammoth and Glavenus, and then Astalos. Pretty good 3 monsters here, all added for the Fatal 4. And if you do have them back, that means all of the Fatal 4 will be back in one game again. Hasn't happened since GU, and that would be really cool. Well, G technically, that would be amazing. All right, next we got Brachydios. You know, we need more blast monsters. We don't really have a blast monster at the moment. We have who has blast? Summoner Cam does a bit of blast with 1 move, but she's not really blast. And then we got Teostra. Well, he's more fire, but he is blast secondary. His weapons are actually blast, so I guess you could count him, but more blast options from actual blast monsters would be cool. The Karkos, oof. Some Elder Dragons setting this arm up. The Karkos, Outer Car, and Kurin. Let's start with the Karkos. The Karkos, I don't know, I love the monster. Really cool, interesting fight. Cool mechanics since he has so many elements. But I don't know, and stasis. I don't know if we'll see him back. We don't normally see the end game online bosses come back, and he was an online boss for base G generations. So it could happen, but I don't necessarily see it happen because it's never happened before. Same for Outer Car, sorry. The GU Generations Ultimate's final online boss. one of the best fights you ever see. Fantastic monster. But once again, same reason, we don't normally see endgame bosses or online return in any series. Same for, what's it called, Molten Tigrex, Lucian Naga Cougar, Abyssal Laggy, but that's for a certain reason. You know, there's a couple monsters we just don't see again. Even, what's his name, Big Mud Boy. Now someone in the comments will fill me in. No, not Zor Magnus. You know, I don't remember. Okay, next, Kieran could definitely come back. Popular monster. Wait, no, it's Zor Magnus, isn't it? Yeah, that would be cool. Zor Magnus would be cool. Nope, I was wrong. It's Gog Magnus, not Zor Magnus. What the hell am I thinking? Gog Magnus. He'll be amazing to see back. You know, me saying that now, I mean, he just seems like he would be perfect for the Rise type of game. I couldn't imagine why you're bugging around this monster. Like, come on, man. Come on, bring it. Ghost Magdaros, Delamadeur, and Atakar at least. I mean, come on, please. But like I was saying, Kieran would be fantastic. Kieran's another really good monster for Rise. I mean, that Japanese, it should have been in base Rise for the Japanese type of theme, but Kieran's actually a Chinese dragon or horse, thingy majiggy. So it would have been good for that. But you know, if they could bring it into Sunbreak, that would still be cool. I think it'd be fantastic. Next, talking about more monsters, this time variants and subspecies. Now, like in every monster on the game, we get variants often. We have had Raging Brachydios in the past, Fierce Rajan, but if we could get one for things like Magnamano, you know, fan favorites from this game, Magnamano, Ghost Horag, like that'd be really cool. Bishaton, even some of the smaller monsters with subspecies as well, like bringing them up to new levels and new experiences. Most Monster Hunter games have quite a lot of subspecies, definitely in the Ultimate editions. So if they can really ramp that up, just add in a lot of monsters, if double the number, who knows, with subspecies variants and new monsters as well, that'd be just fantastic. That's what we need to see. Along those lines, we also need to see some hyper or tempered monsters come back. I think it'll be fantastic. It will just add to the gameplay replayability. Harder, stronger quests with harder monsters in different scenarios, which you can upgrade your armor and make weapons around, similar to GU. In GU, you had monsters that gave you items to create, items to create certain weapons, upgrading your weapons past the normal limits with hyper monsters, and it was really fantastic. It allowed you to really engage with difficult content to get better weapons and upgrade your armor to the max. It was a fantastic system. I think GU did armor and weapons almost perfectly overall if you compare it to the rest of Monster Hunter, and I think they could bring that into Rise to really bump it up. Also, Apex monsters, more Apex monsters. We need to see Apex of the Crabs returning. We need to see Apex Magnamalo. We need to see more than just Apex old Deviant monsters. And in fact, give an Apex to Lagombi, man. Lagombi had a Deviant, but no Apex. And also give an Apex to Valvadon. Valvadon was the only beast monster without a Deviant, so I think he deserves an Apex. But come on, let's do it. Next, let's talk about balance for weapons and for the monsters. So one thing people have talked about when it comes to Rise is we're too fast compared to the monsters. We move too fast, the monsters need the buff. And yeah, that's true. Not all of the monsters, but some of the monsters definitely need the buff. Definitely the smaller ones in G rank, they need to be faster, they need to be hit stronger. In fact, I think in high rank some of them, and even low rank, some of them should have been faster and stronger. But this is a time in G rank made them faster, made them stronger. If you bring in hyper monsters back, hyper monsters were faster with certain moves and slower in some other moves, and they were just relentless, harder to trip, harder to abuse. If you could make that, bring that for the monsters to really beef them up, I think that'd be fantastic. With harder quests coming out, they can really push themselves to optimize their builds to defeat monsters, and that's what ultimately we need. On top of that, I would say one of the suggestions in the Discord was Wifle being nerfed, and a lot of people have talked about that, and I think Wifle being nerfed is a great idea. Maybe Wifle takes up 2 of your Y-Bugs, or maybe it's a longer recharge. Personally, I think taking 2 of the Y-Bugs is cool because it stops you from just using one and then being punished using another one again. This time, if it takes 2, and maybe if the recharge is even a bit longer, if it takes 2, you can't use an offensive skill. You gotta play normally. You have to really watch what you're doing. So it really makes you mindful of what you're doing, rather than it just being longer. You could just get hit once, run about, chill about for a bit, and then come back, and then we still have another one to use anyway. So taking 2 to really make people think when they want to use a rifle is important. I think rifle is a really cool part of the game. A lot of these elements are really cool. Just some refinements to make them a bit better would be great. 2 other big ones here. So silk bind skills being balanced, rebalanced. Some silk bind skills are super good, or switch skills in general are super good. Some aren't that great. Like the lance is one where you stab it into the monster. I mean, most people don't use it. I've actually started to use it. I used it at the start in demo, and I started to use it again recently, and it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty fun to use. But for optimal gameplay and for in most situations, definitely playing solo, it's not the most amazing thing. In situations like with that skill, maybe if it actually also you know, increase your damage or something, or did damage over time to the monster, that'd be great. But in general, some switch skills are too strong. Some of the ones on bow, some of the ones on longsword are too strong, while some of the ones on charge blade, or let's say even the gun lance, aren't good enough. So if we can really buff up some of the switch skills, I think it will just increase, you know, replayability and theory crafting in general. The more balanced, the better. Next, elemental and status buffs. Everyone has harped about this since pretty much World. Our status and element, even again in Rise, isn't as strong as it should be. Now, it's not evident to me that element and status has always been good before World. I think this started to really show up in World and now Rise, as we see damage numbers and the general populace of monster hunters can tell if one weapon is doing more damage than the other. While in the older games, if you weren't really a speedrunner and you weren't really looking for these numbers, you couldn't really tell, unless maybe you're just the rough amount of time it takes you to take a quest. Maybe you might feel it in the back of your mind, but you can't really prove it basically. But now you can easily as well. So element and status needs a buff, man. I think it's too often where status weapons don't come with slots, or have really bad sharpness, or just bad raw damage in general. For some status which isn't too strong. Now, some suggestions, I've talked about this before, some suggestions when it comes to status at least, is I think paralysis is a good place, but maybe some of the sharpness and the usability to get a good status build needs to be easier for paralysis. When it comes to sleep, one of my suggestions is waking monsters from sleep to do more damage. Maybe 3 times the damage, and maybe even, if not that, maybe 3 or 4 times the damage when you wake up a monster with a sleep weapon. Like, I think that would really boost up people using sleep weapons, as they get extra damage on sleep monsters. My issue is with sleep weapons itself is that the amount of time you set up when a monster's sleeping, for example, and you're hitting the monster, and you're actually getting a big hit on the monster for the ×2 damage, you could probably do the same amount of damage or more if everyone is just whacking the monster during those times. Yeah, it gives you a bit of time to reset and just buff up, but overall, I don't think sleep is that good. It needs to have more to it. Another element that sleep could have is maybe sleep does a bit of exhaust damage, so maybe it makes monsters more tired more quicker. I think that's a good benefit. One for poison itself is maybe poison weapons do more damage to poison monsters. I think that'd be fantastic, so it really boosts up how effective poison is when a monster's poisoned, and you could be 2 poisons in a quest. Most statuses you don't want more than 1, unless you're paralysis, then that'll be fine, or blast. In fact, if blast 2, more than 1 blast is great. Paralysis more than 1 is fine, but if you can, maybe if with sleep and poison, definitely poison if 2. Like, imagine running 2 and you do more damage both of you when they're poisoned. You'd want to keep reapplying the poison as much as possible, and I think that would be fantastic for status in general. Elements in general just needs a buff. Better skills to help them do more damage as well, because the one in the game doesn't really do much. So more on both ends would be amazing. And also counters. So counters are really strong in Rise, definitely since most weapons got a counter as well, and they work extremely well in this game. This is a carry on from Gen, where in Gen we had Adept style and we also had Valor style, which did add in some type of counter system. Not fully, but kind of, for most weapons. What would be interesting in Rise if the counters in the game had elements of things like Valor in Gen, where when you Valored a hit, you'll take 1/3 of the damage from the hit instead of the full hit, and you would be able to shoot your weapon. So what I'm thinking is, in Rise, if you counter a hit, you shouldn't come out unscathed. Maybe there's some, you know, variables on which one you don't come unscathed and which ones you do, but for example with Lance, when you counter you're taking chip damage. And a lot of weapons you don't, you just dodge through. There should be some chip damage for countering. At least some. I mean, maybe a third, maybe half the damage. Some type of balance needs to be happening, because I think that would really make it more punishing for countering. It shouldn't be just be a free pass for countering. Yes, you should be rewarded for countering, but it shouldn't be just counter everything and you'll be fine. There needs to be some repercussion. And I think that's a good way to deal with it. Also increasing the recharge and short bind skills for counters. Alright, last part for the balance section. Rival riding. Rival riding needs to be a bit of a nerf. I think it's too easy to happen. The monster you're trying to attack, it happens too quickly, and even monsters around the area, it happens literally in 1 or 2 art skills, with shit skills. I think it really needs to change to increase how often it happens, so it doesn't happen as often. Definitely in G rank and high rank, it shouldn't happen as often as it does. Rival riding is a really cool mechanic. It's a bit of a hit and miss for some people, but I think if it happens less often, and later on I'm going to suggest a change so you don't have to do it, it's not forced. But if it doesn't happen as often, I think that would be amazing and it would really work out overall. Alright guys, this video has been pretty damn fun so far. Some great suggestions, but I'm going to split this off into 2 videos. So the next video should be on Thursday, so stay tuned for that, with more of the list of things that people want for Sunbreak. So yeah, catch you then, and I hope you enjoy. See you later guys.